Hello. Hello. Hey, good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible. Yes, thank you. We got few confirmation. Okay. Good morning. Yeah. So let's start day 5. So yesterday we were discussing about a concept called DHCP, right? So we understood how DHCP has been working in on premises, and today we are going to discuss about how this has been working in a cloud scenarios. So what is the use of a DHCP? Can you comment? Yesterday we had a good discussion and debate on a DHCP. All of us understood it's with the help of a DHCP we are able to do automation, or we are able to automatically we can able to assign an IP address to the client computer. So that's the learning we had, automatic assignment of an IP address. So how this has been working? This is working with the help of a two concept called lease generation and the lease renewal also. So like with the help of a DORA process, we are able to assign an IP address to the client, and with the help of that, all the clients in the network is being getting an IP address. Now, this is the scenario we have been seen in a on-premises cases, right? On-premises infrastructure. Generally, we are assigning a physical server, and with the help of the physical server we are distributing the DHCP service. So as I said in the first session, this is a kind of a comparison of, or it's in the kind of a hybrid infrastructure discussion. So we are trying to understand how this has been configured in a cloud scenario and how this has been configured in a um, on-premises scenarios. These are the two cases we are trying to understand. So right now we understood in a on-premises scenarios for distributing an IP address. Generally, you will install a DHCP server. With the help of that, all the clients in the network is getting an IP address. How the DHCP has been assigned? It's been assigned with the help of a concept called scope. Now, I know you may be getting a question right now here. Yes, Robin was discussing how this has been configured in a on-premises one. Then what about in a cloud scenarios? How DHCP is being configured and how IP address is being distributed to the VMs, right? Because in cloud also you're using a VMs, right? That's called the shortened name. The computers which you are using a cloud, that's known as a virtual machines. Now, I know all of us may be getting a question, how the private IP address or how the public IP address is being assigned to the VM, which is being configured in a cloud scenario. Do you have this doubt? Can you comment is yes or no? Or you are already aware about this concept? Can you comment it on the chat window? Okay, good. So need to know, and a few people said already is aware of this one. Now, anyway, I'm planning already plan to cover this one because as a cloud admin, you should understand how this is being assigned. Now, on premises has been, I hope everyone is been confident and everyone is been clear about the DHCP concept, right? I think there is two more concept is been pending to cover. Let me share that, then I'll move to the cloud scenarios. Let me take you to the same presentation, which yesterday we were following or yesterday which we were discussing. I hope you can able to see this one. Let me take into the presentation. Let me share on the second minute. So I loaded. Okay, now these all points is been covered the last week. Now, right now, there's a topic has been pending about how DHCP has been managed. Now, when you're considering about a DHCP management, we need to manage the database also, right? Because every time um, we have a number of servers it's been released or it's been getting an IP address from a server. So we need to have a proper tracking or a proper management is required on the DHCP side. So yesterday we understood the moment when you install DHCP on in a any of the Microsoft or it's in the servers, there is a DHCP database is being created. So with the help of that, it's been assigning an IP address. Now it's been our responsibility to ensure that the DHCP server is been properly it's been managed. Properly it's managed means that ensure that it's been properly it's been secured and you have taken a proper backup of the servers also. Now, all of us is already seen or it's been already aware. But the moment when you install a DHCP service on a Microsoft Windows Server 2019 or a 2016, for your information, there is a folder is been created inside a Microsoft system root folder. So here I mentioned it's been system root. The reason it's been like there are some situation case if the customer or the client or the uh, some customer place if the operating system if you're configured in a different drive, you will not be able to see this folder inside a C drive. That's the reason I mentioned the drive or it's been as mentioned as a percentage system root percentage system 32 folder. So you'll be able to see inside this folder there is a folder subfolder has been created with a DHCP. Now inside that you will be able to see there are multiple database files are is being created. So if you are opening this DHCP file, uh, if you can go to the Windows servers right now, yesterday we have been created a server, right? So let's go and see inside that. I hope you can able to see that inside. Now let's connect to or this you can just check this folder in your on-premises one. You will be able to see there is a couple of files been created. One is called DHCP MDB. This is the one of the file is being created by default. So this basically it's been containing a database. It's been like basically like when you created a DHCP. This DHCP MDB is the file which containing all the databases. So and there is a .edb or a log files also it's been created inside the DHCP folder. Basically, this is all our checkpoints file. So if any lease generation or a renewal or any IP address releasing happening, all these informations are being saved inside this DHCP file. Now, when it is coming on the DHCP backup, whenever you want to take any backup, Sandesh is saying like there is some echo is been coming. Echo has been coming to everyone. Hello. Now it's been better. Now is it better? Sandesh, if you can confirm, that's been well and good. Yeah, I enabled that noise cancellation. Maybe there is some sound maybe coming from the secondary laptop. Yeah. So now in case if you want to take a backup, there are two options generally we are doing. One it's been like you can take a backup of the folder which has been created in the DHCP server. Second option it's been like there is a file or there is a backup is been created in the registry also. Right now you can able to see inside a local machine, system, current control set, service, and there is a DHCP service is been created inside the DHCP registry also. So in case if you want to take any backup, make sure that you are taking a backup of both the place. Now by default there is a database backup is already it's been happening every 60 minutes. Now in case if you are doing any kind of a migration or in case if you are doing any kind of a movement manually, if you want to look, if you're looking for a backup DHC folder you can take manually. We are looking this one now. How to take a backup, it's been like, or it's like in case if you want to do any kind of migrations, you can able to go for this kind of a modification. So like in case for example like you have been moving a server from one data center to another data center or one location to another location, you can use this option like you can with the help of backup and restore. You can able to do a movement. Like generally we used to take a backup to a offline storage. In olden days we used to take into tape drive or it's been used to take into a CD or a DVD. Nowadays we are using a cloud enabled backup and we used to move or restore into the other server. So that's the right practices we generally used to use. Like if there is any corruption or if there is like in case if you want to do any kind of a movement to any other server, this method can be followed. So you have an option to do a backup and restore. So as a cloud admin or as a system administrator, it's better to have at least a incremental backup or you need to have a regular backup of your DHCP server. Now, in case if you want to restore this one, once after the installation of DHCP service, if you right click on the DHCP, there you will get an option for restore. So you can point the restore location or it's you can restore from the backup. So this is the option generally it's been configured. This is the practice it's been followed for a restoring the server. Now, when you're doing a backup, um, it's containing all the IP details or IP schema or reservation options or the DHCP option you are configured on a DHCP on the DHCP server, right? So in case if you are taking any kind of a backup, ensure that it's been properly it's been protected also. Now this is the way generally we used to move a DHCP server from one location to another location. In case if you are decommissioning any existing old DHCP server, we used to take a backup first, then that will be restarted or that will be restored in the new server from the media. So this is the practice generally we are doing in case if we are doing any kind of a modification or in case if you are doing any kind of a movement of the server. So this is the way it's being updated. Now there are some situation like if the DHCP is making any kind of a, modification, any kind of um, consistency issue if you're facing, there is an option called reconciling. Now, I was saying like whenever you're creating any DHCP, there is a backup is been created in the registry also, and there is it's been created inside the Microsoft root driver also. Now, in case if you are if you're thinking like there is some modification, or if you want to do any kind of a management, or if you're seeing like any kind of a conflict, if you are seeing on in a server, you have an option, or you are having an option to make a option to avoid the conflict in the DHCP database also. That generally known as a DHCP database reconcile. This technically, it's been like there is a two place that DHCP information is being saved. One, it's been saved inside a DHCP database, and another it's been saved inside the Microsoft registry also. So in case if you want to do any kind of a modification, this one, or in case if you're feeling like there is some conflict or there's some kind of a consistency issue if you're facing, you can go to a DHCP console. There is an option called reconcile. So you can able to see there is an, if you right click on this server, you will be able to see there is an option called reconcile. Right, if you right click on this option near to all tasks, there will be an option you'll be getting that's called reconcile. So with the help of a reconcile option, you will be able to do a avoid all kind of inconsistency issues in the DHCP database. So this is the place you can able to see DHCP database has been taking all the detailed IP information about the server, and in the registry it's getting all the IP summaries also. So it will be a comparison and it will make. Okay, now let's go for the monitoring part. Now, these are the few common issues generally you are facing on a DHCP. Like generally you will have a address conflicts, generally will have facing some kind of issues like DHCP is being not reachable, or there are some situations like you will face like an option like you may be getting an IP address from an incorrect scope, or you may be it's been facing kind of a DHCP database corruptions, or there are some situation you may be facing like a DHCP is being exhausted also. So these are the few common, or these are the issues we have been observed in a DHCP management. So basically, like in case if it is a DHCP is being exhausted, one option is like in case if you have any kind of a super scope is been available, with the help of that, you will be able to sort out this issue. So in case if he is able to, if there is any kind of a database corruptions area, or either you have an option it's been like restore from a backup, or you can go for a reconcile. So these are the few um, common issues that have been observed in the DHCP management. Now, in most of the situations, um, in case if you are seeing like if there is any uh, servers has been getting an IP address from a unauthorized server, even though if you the authorization or if you have done a proper prevention or it's on the DHCP server, there are some situation as an admin we may have to do a random check on the infrastructure also, because many times if someone in the organization or someone in the inside a network, if they have configured a DHCP server, either it's on the VMware workstations or it's been configured on their own test servers or a demo server, there is a chance of um, releasing IP address from that machine also. So maybe sometimes I have observed like in some places, like if someone has been trying to do any kind of a self study, or if someone has been trying to do some kind of uh, demo or a R&D, there are some situations from a workstation machines, client may be getting IP address. So you need to ensure that in case if there is any kind of IP address is been, or if there is any kind of a DHCP server is been configured in the local network. So if you can able to do a random physical check, that also has been important in a IT management. So ensure that. Is there any kind of anyone has been using this one, or you can do a port management, or it's been port monitoring. So that also it's been important in the IT management or in the system management options. So these are the few advice for you in case if there is any kind of a DHCP server is been doing this kind of monitoring, so the physical monitoring is been required. Now, in case if you want to do any kind of a delegation, like you may be already aware that is case, there is a lot of Active Directory group is been created once you integrated or once you install Active Directory in a domain. So in case if you want to do any kind of a management of DHCP, basically there are two group is been using. One is called DHCP Administrator Group, and there is a DHCP users also. I hope all of us may be knowing about a concept called users and group also. So in case if there is any Active Directory has been available in your organization, and in case if you want to delegate Active Directory management to anyone, then these are the two group generally we are using. So with the help of a DHCP administrator or with the help of a DHCP user, this management is generally it's been done. Now, there is an option called DHCP statistics. It's been like if you right click on a DHCP server, uh, this will give you a complete summary about how many IP addresses been currently it's been released, and how many IP addresses it's been pending, and how many IP addresses been currently is in use, and what is the total percentage, or what is the uh, pending IP address list, or what is the percentage currently it's been used. You will be getting a complete details about this. Now, in case if you're going for any log analysis, as I said, by default, this has been available inside a DHCP folder, right? Now, if you're seeing here, it's by default, it's been configured inside a DHCP folder. Now, if you're seeing, or if you're opening this DHCP folder, which has been available inside a C column Windows System 32, there is a DHCP folder you can able to see, and inside a DHCP folder, you can able to see a couple of log files also it's been created. Now, if you're opening this file, you will be able to see the file from Monday to Sunday. So you can able to see like there is a file is being given is a Friday. You can able to see it's been given a Saturday, Friday, like you can able to see. So Monday to Sunday, there will be a log is being created. So if you are opening this one, each day, what are the IP addresses being renewed, what are the IP address being released, you will be able to uh, you'll be able to do proper management of this one. So you'll be able to get a proper details in case if you're doing any kind of a root cause analysis. This files may be helpful for this. And there is a database file also it's been available, that's called MDB, and by default every 60 minutes there is a backup is been created inside the DHCP folder itself. Or if you want to do any kind of a modification on this, or in case if you are looking for any kind of a manual backup, you can go to right click on the DHCP and there will be getting an option for manual backup also. Now, audit file, I was saying like there is a Monday to Friday or Monday to Sunday, there is a log file it's been it's been created, right? Now, in case if you're opening that file, you will be able to see like entries will be like this. You'll have details like which IP address, which client is being released, and full communication you will be able to see it. So that will help you to understand. This has been the log file it's been created, and this is the file it's been, this is the IP address means it's assigned, and this is the MAC address which been used, and this is the time it's been released, this is the time it's going to expire. The complete summaries will be able to get. So this basically you can use if there is an outage, or in case if you want to do any kind of a root cause analysis, that kind of a situation. This audit log file will be helpful for you. Now, these are the few exercises which you can do it on your lab when it's been like um, complete all the DHCP configuration. And I'll be uploading a DHCP lab module also with 35 questions today. It's been prepared yesterday, so we'll be uploading the portal also, which giving you a couple of instructions like a day one to day two. This one last 5 days module with some lab questions also that you need to complete that DHCP management part. So upload this one. So today evening, this lab questions will be uploaded. So you can take a notepad and uh, write it all the steps also. So I'll share you that document very soon. So lab question is been ready for you. Now this is the first question for you today, and you can comment it your answer on the chat window. So this question is being related to the lease renewal one. So I'm giving a scenario. It's like you are in a customer place. You got an IP address and we have configured it's a lease duration. It's been 4 days. And what is the when it's going to renew this one? So few people has been commented on chat and when it's going to the first time. It's not the second time. Few people has been marked 3.5. So the first question is the which date or which time does the first renewal is been happening. So answer for this question is been um, 2 days. So thank you team. So I think almost all the members has been answered this right answer. So thank you for that. Now with that note, we are concluding on-premises DHCP part. Now any question from anyone? Any doubt related to the on-premises DHCP? If you're good, let's move to the cloud side also. If you're good, I request you to comment it on the chat window. Okay, thank you. Is there any mechanism to be protected to it? One option is been Sandesh. You need to block or you need to monitor all the IO ports. Right now you have a IO port has been available in Office, right? So this needs to be monitored from either through a switch. So there's one options we have. Second, you may have to control all the device which is been entering to a network. So that's the one option you need to do. So you may have to do any kind of a NAP kind of a protection mechanism you can able to do. So you need to have a proper uh, flow data or a packet sniffer kind of a tool needs to be used in Swift and ensure that any packet is been coming with a port number 67, it's been blocked. So you can use there is a lot of a syslog tool is been available in the network, which can be able to use that. So you can able to basically you can able to use some packet sniffer tools. Okay, good. Now let's move to the cloud side now. How it's been configured on the cloud side. Let's start on the cloud side. Now before the L2 switch, we can configure is L2 switch side, Sandesh. I have a less experience on the Cisco or vendor product management because I'm completely on the MSI. So in case if there is any tool or a product or a device if it's supporting, that we will input. Generally, my understanding in my cases, I've been used the sniffing tool. Generally, we used to control the port number 67 or a 68. So thank you, team. Let's move to the cloud management. Let me load the next slide. Just give me 2 minutes. Right now, we have seen it's been like how IP address is been configured in a on-premises one. Now let's move to the cloud side. Now in a cloud side, any idea how IP address is been released? Now in cloud side, if you're configuring any VM, yesterday we have seen it's been like by default the VMs are assigned with a two information automatically. It's been like if this is a VM, this is receiving a public IP address and there is a private IP address is been received to VM also. There's a two IP addresses been by default it's been assigned. What is the use of a public IP address and what is the use of a private IP address? Private IP address is generally using like in case if you want to do any kind of internal communication. For example, like if you're taking any cloud or any network or infrastructure, inside your network, you will have a multiple VMs or workstations will be available. So you need to communicate all these servers each other, right? So internal communication is needed. So you don't need any kind of a public IP address to be in place for making any kind of a internal communication. So you will have a VM to VM communication will be in place. Or there are some situation you may be have to connect with a storage account, or you may be have to connect with a database. You may have to connect with a firewall. You may have to connect with a bastion service. You may have to connect with the other security products. So this kind of internal communication is coming in place also. Now, right now we understood in case of in a DHCP, how this IP address is being distributed. Now, when it is coming on a cloud side, Microsoft itself is been assigning an IP address to all the VM. You don't need to configure a separate DHCP services on the Microsoft side. How generally this has been assigned? Right now we understood there is a public IP address and private IP address is available. Public IP address is generally using for connecting to internet. Now, private IP address is the IP address which you are using internal. This IP address is generally you are receiving from a pool called VNet pool. It's called virtual networking. That's called VNet is called for virtual networking. You don't need to use a separated DHCP. If you want, you can use it. Okay, you can configure a DHCP inside your Azure infrastructure and you can distribute. But technically, if you're configuring any VMs inside a Microsoft Azure, generally all the VMs are by default it's been assigned with a option called VNet. So from a VNet, IP address will be distributed. Any idea what is a VNet? VNet is similar like to the networking which you are configuring your on premises. Now in your on-premises, if you want to communicate each other, generally we are creating an IP address or an IP. Um, what are the options you're using? You're a subnet mask or you're using a gateway address, everything, right? Now in Azure side, Microsoft has been offering a number of networking features. Now, if you go to Microsoft portal, let me share the Microsoft portal. Just give me a second. Let me connect it. Just give me a second. I'm just typing the Azure portal links here. Just give me a second. So I can take you into the portal. Typing the username and password. So give me 2 minutes. It's code, security code. Okay, right now I hope you can see my Azure portal link. Now, if you go to Microsoft portal right now, okay. Now I got a questions here. Which is mean more recommended configuring DHCP on a Microsoft server or in a firewall side of Azure. Um, Generally, it's that we are not configuring any DHCP service on a firewall side. Generally, all the traffic management only generally we are doing on a firewall side. Generally, we are not configuring any DHCP option, or there is no option at all available on the Azure firewall side for a DHCP. All the traffic management, the traffic which is been going internal or external, all this has been configured in the Azure firewall level. So there is no option for a DHCP in the Microsoft Azure firewall level. I hope it's been clear to you. Generally, the price to practice is been like assign an IP address using a VNet. From the VNet, you can distribute to the DHCP or the private IP address and do a proper management of a NSG or a proper management of a Azure firewall on the cloud side. That is the best practice, or that is a recommended configurations of a DHCP in a cloud scenarios. I hope I have answered any further question on the same challenge or a concern. If you're good, you can comment it on the chat. Yeah, thank you. Now, let's go back to the portal. Now, when we had a discussion on an Azure portal, we have seen it's like when say the all services one, we have noticed there are 35 or 30 plus services been provided by the Microsoft. Now, if you go to a all services and go to networking tab, there you can able to see there are 35 plus services Microsoft has been offering related to the networking one, which includes networking configuration, which includes the public IP address management, or which includes private management also. Right now we are discussing about how the IP address has been provided or how IP address has been configured on a cloud scenarios. So in an on-premises scenario, all we already understood, like in case if they need a private IP address, the distribution is generally done from using DHCP. And in case if someone is needed a private IP address in a on-premises scenario, we used to connect with the internet service provider. It can be AT&T or a British Telecom, or it's been Airtel, or it's been BSNL, or Vodafone, or the different vendors are available in the market. With the help of that, we are getting a public IP address. Now, in a cloud scenario also, there are two options is been coming. One it's been coming, it's in public IP address. Second is been coming, it's about private IP address. Now, in case if you want to manage any IP address, uh, right now we understood Microsoft has been offering 35 plus services here, right? You can able to see there is a virtual network, load balancers, and n number of offering it's been done. It's similar like your on-premises only. Basically, this is been using for making a data exchange between your applications or a data communication between to the database. All this is being provided either through internal or a external networks. Typically, when you are creating a virtual network, it's been like in a on-premises scenarios, we have using a lot of components for making a network, right? You may be having a router, you may be having a switch, you may be having a network cables, you may be having a physical or a software based firewalls will be here. Now when it is coming on a Microsoft Azure cloud side, here also we are using a couple of terms or a terminologies or a couple of components also here. So basically, when you create a network on a Microsoft Azure side, that typically known as virtual network or a VNet. So what is the technical term we are using? The technical term we are using is called VNet. If you go to the competitor cloud service providers, they may be using another term called a VPC kind of a uh, terms. It's been like a Google or AWS. They may be using a similar kind of a concept, but different terminologies they are using. Now, Azure side, the technical terminology which we are using is called VNet. So VNet is nothing. You are making in networking in a virtual mode that's generally represented with a VNet. So all your IP address or a subnet mask and all the communication is generally happening with the help of a VNet. Now, when you are creating a virtual network, you will be getting a public IP address and you will be getting a private IP address also. So what is the purpose of that? It's it's using for making establishing a communication. Now, how this has been associated with a VM? Because if I need to associate or if I need to use this one, whenever you are creating any VM, by default there is a network interface card is been assigned to a VM. I hope there is a virtual machine is been available here with us. No, it's been deleted yesterday. No problem. Now, whenever you're creating any virtual machines, by default, there is a network interface card is been created. That is known as virtual network interface card. That's called VNIC in an on-premises one. Backside of your server, you have a physical Ethernet card is been available here. But here in this case, you will have a virtual network interface card is been available. Now, VNet has been associated or it's been working hand to hand with a VNIC. With the help of that, you can able to make any kind of a communication. So these are the two components or two important resources we are using. Now, other than that, there is a concept called subnetting also. Subnetting is generally using, you already may be knowing, like that's for making any kind of a segregations, like instead of keeping all the VMs on in the same network, technically a cloud administrators or a cloud network admin will create multiple subnets, so that will isolate the virtual machines or isolate the Azure resource between or it's been inside the infrastructure. So we'll have a subnet also it's been available along with your network interface card. Now, typically in Microsoft Azure side or Azure network side, traffic management is being done with the help of a two concept that's called NSG, that's called Network Security Group. It's been a kind of internal firewall. With the help of that, you will be able to make any kind of a inbound or a outbound communication management. Now, if you want to do any kind of a advanced version of a traffic management, there is a service is available that is known as a Microsoft Azure Firewall. You can just go to a search bar and you can type option called firewall. That will help you to create a firewall feature that's having intelligent mechanism, and it's a paid resource also. Network resource group is a free product, so that will help you to do any kind of a management or a traffic management in another on a subnet level or in a network interface card level. If you want to do any kind of a traffic management, that generally it's been done with the help of this. Any question on this on the VNet part? I was just sharing some nutshell or a summary about how BNet has been working on a cloud side, because you are a cloud network admin or you are a cloud DHCP administrator. So at least you should have a basic knowledge about how the cloud network has been working. That's the reason I was giving some small information or some summary about how BNet or how cloud is being configured on the Microsoft Azure side. I'm pausing here before moving on a DHCP or a IP release on a cloud side. In case if you have any questions or a general question related to the BNet, we can have a discussion. If you're good, we can move to the DHCP one. Any question related to the VNet? Because you need to have a confidence on the VNet, because your DHCP is going and residing on top of the VNet only. So you should need to have complete information about this. I'm pausing here in case if you have any doubt, please ask. If you're good, you can comment it on the chat also. So all the network resources are free to use in Azure? No, Sandesh. We need to check one by one, because there are few products are it's been costly product also. It's been like if you're taking a firewall, there is a cost is being involved. Now network security group, it's been free of cost. Private IP address is a free of cost, but public IP address is a chargeable one. So we need to refer the Microsoft document. Otherwise, you will not be able to identify which resource is being free or which resource is being a priced one. So in case you always you need to refer Microsoft document for that. Azure Firewall and all, it's been a costly product, because I have a experience like a few days before. I have configured a firewall and I forgot to delete that component from my Azure portal. It's almost 10,000, 12,000 rupees has been gone. Almost a 2 weeks has been used. I forgot to delete that one in my lab. It's been debited from my credit card. So you need to be a bit careful, Sandesh. I think we are good. Now let's try to understand how IP address is being configured here. Now let's start with a private IP address first, and then let's move to the public IP address. Now when it is coming on a private IP address, typically if you are taking any Microsoft Azure component, let me take you into the whiteboard. So you have will get a better clarity on this. Now, if you're taking a Microsoft Cloud, there are two type of IP addresses being assigned for a resource, right? So now, if you are taking any resource, I'm just marking a resource. Resource can be anything. So if you are taking a resource, let's take a VM. VM is a resource. Now, if you're taking a resource, by default, this got a private IP address. I'm just marking as a private IP address. It's got a public IP address. Public IP address generally it's been used any internet faced components or a public facing components generally using a public IP address. Now, private IP address generally it's been used by the VNets. You will have multiple VNet is being configured, and you will have you can able to use this is for connecting to your on-premises network. For example, like you have a data center still it's been available in your organization, and if you want to connect to internet or if you want to connect to a cloud, generally this has been interconnected using a concept called VPN. Now, once the VPN is being used, you don't need any public IP address. All the communication is between this on-premises to the cloud. It's been done with the help of a private IP address. So you can use this private IP address for communicating on-premises to the cloud or VPN gateways. VPN gateway is being used by this one. And in case if you have any express route is been configured, it's been handle the private IP address. Now let's see how this private IP address has been configured. Now generally if you're taking a private IP address has been assigned or it's been working with a VNet. Now in a DHCP when you're configured, you have seen it's been like there is a scope is been configured, right? Similar way, you are defining IP range or a pool of IP address here also. But instead of a DHCP scope, you are using a concept called VNet. So in VNet, you will define the pool of IP address with with a range, like what is the IP address schema you're using. That range you will be assigning. It can be from 10.0.0.1 and 2050. What is the subnet you need? All this information you will give. Let me show you here. Let me take you into the whiteboard again. So this VNet can be configured in a multiple way. One option is been like once you connected to the Azure Firewall or once you connected to Azure portal, there if you go to a search bar, you can type it's a virtual network and you can configure a virtual network or a VNet. The similar like you can just compare this is with like your how DHCP scope is being configured, right? Now this is one option. Second option which we have, which mean like otherwise you will have a option called at the time of the virtual machine creation. Right now, if you go to a create, if you go to a any VM creation, you may be notice on top of the virtual machine, there is a couple of tabs are is being given, right? You will have a networking, you have a network tab is been coming here. So here you will be getting an option for called create a new. So here you will be getting both the options. In case if there is a existing network is been available in a cloud infrastructure, you can map the VM to the or you have an option to create a new virtual network here. For example, like you want to create a new one, you can click a create new. Right now you may get error message because we haven't given any details about um, any modification about the basic any kind of details like a regions or it's a resource group or a location. This kind of details can be configured. Now in case if you want to do any kind of any modifications here, like it's if you want to do any kind of configuration here, there's a one option you can use. So right now let's create a new VM here. Now I'm creating a resource group. It's called cloud admin. VM name I given it's been VM1 Central India, and the given detail is being given data center. I'm just giving like a TRG admin. Now if you go to the network tab, you can note this point, okay, because I'm trying to show you how VNet is being created, how IP address is being distributed. Now right now you can able to see there is a default uh, network is being created. Now I'm just giving this is like a HR network. Now right now you will be able to see similar like your DHCP scope. You may be seeing there is a range is being configured 10.0.0.0 and the subnet is been currently it's been used 16 only. Way this is been using a 10 dot series, because yesterday already we have seen the IP range which generally we are using for a private IP address, and the IP address generally we are using for a private IP address also, right? So that's the reason by default it's been taking 10. Now in case if you want to go for a 172 or a 192, you have a flexibility to select it here also. Right now we are configuring a pool of IP address 10.0.0.60. Right now you can able to see that, right? So it's saying, hey Robin, you can create IP address of 65,000 IP address can be able to create it here, which is stands from 0.0.0, 10.0.0.0 to 10.0.255.255.255. This is 65,000. Now for making a further isolation, I'm making a subnets here, saying that out of 65,000, I took a one portion. This is something like you may be seen like in your near to your home or in your place. You may be shopping malls is available, right? Shopping mall, if you are entering into a shopping mall, it's been a 1 second. Now, shopping mall, you may be seeing like once you entered into the shopping mall, inside that you may be having a n number of shops are available, right? Each shops are isolated each other, right? You may be having Van Heusen or Arrow or X or Nike or Adidas or different band shops are available, right? Similar way here also. Right now, when you configure this VNet, you define the IP address range. It's been like a 10.0.0.0.60, and IP it's been getting it's been a 65,000. This is the options you are getting. So this is the IP range you are getting. Now with the help of that, you are dividing or you are making a small groups. It's been like with the help of a concept called subnet. So right now I say a subnet is mean like a subnet A. I just given this is a subnet A. Now if I need to do further isolation, like if I have another department is coming like HR marketing department, for that marketing server, if I need to segregate, then I can able to create another subnet here. So like this I can able to do make any kind of modifications here. So in case if you need any kind of modifications, then you can able to do it with the help of this one. So there's the way it's been the IP address has been configured on the Microsoft side. Now, right now I'm not making any additional subnet here. I'm just giving this okay, and I just give a review and create. So right now let's go for a create. Right now you may be notice what is the details we are given. We are given it's been like a subnet A, and detail is been given. I'm just giving a review and create. Right now I just given create button again. So right now the creation is in progress, so we need to wait 1 or 2 minutes. Meanwhile, we can take a 5 minutes break, and once you're back, so you'll have a server will be ready, and we can have a further discussion on this. Can we use a default? Yes, Sandesh, you can go for a default VNet also, and in case if you want better instead of going for a default VNet, you can make some name changes on the default VNS, because it's be very difficult for you to identify who is been using this one. So better in case if you're using a default VNet, go for that, but make a small changes on the name. So it's been easy for you to identify this one. Yes, VNet generally provides only the private IP address. Public IP address is a separate one. I'll be showing you that how the public IP address it's been provided. Now let's take a 5 minutes break. Now the server is been ready. After a break, we'll see like how public IP address and how private IP address distribution is been happening here. I hope you're back. If you're back, can you comment it on the chat window? So thank you. So now Charity is asking, like, in case if there is any VM or if the client want to connect to this one, how IP address is been assigned. I'm coming to that point, Charita. Right now, before a break, we have created a VNet. Now, if you go back to the server, or if you go back to this Azure portal, you may be noticed virtual machine is been created now. Now this virtual machine is been associated or it's been assigned with the two address now. One it's been like a public IP address. Right now you may be notice one more information here. Now if you go to this networking tab, there is an IP address is been released from the VNet. What was the IP address we have given when we are creating a VNet? You may be observed when we are creating a VNet, we have provided or we have configured what was the value we are given 10.0.0.0/60, right? You're agreeing this one? If you can able to comment it on the you're able to understood this one, if you can just able to comment it on the chat window. Now when you create a VNet, you may be notice there is a range we have been configured, right? So there is a IP address range we have been configured. One is a 10.0.0.0, and this is the IP address given. Now, right now, what has happened? You created a VM, and this VM is got an IP address from this port, right? You will be able to see like there is a 10.0.0.0.4. So this similar like how it's been configured on a on-premises also, right? In a on-premises also, you may be seen like the moment DORA process is happened and it's been connected to the DHCP scope, and from that pool is the IP address being released. Now, similar way, the moment you assigned a VM or create a VM, it got an IP address from that VNet. Now, let's do one thing. Right now, if you go to this virtual network, you may be able to notice there is a virtual network is being created that's called HR department here, right? What is the IP address is what is the virtual network is been created? HR department. What is the range it's been configured here? You may be notice here it's been configured with a 10.0.0.16. I hope you can able to see on the right side of the portal, right? 10.0.0.16. Now, right now, what is happening? It's been connected a device or it's been address space is been given to a network interface card. Right now, you will be able to see who is using which IP address, right? You will be able to see 10.0.0.4 is the IP address is being used by a network interface card. What is the network interface card name? This is the card it's been used. And who is been using this one? This is being using by X machines. Now, this is the range is been configured. Okay, now let's go back. Let's try to create another VM and try to attach with the same VNet. Now let's create another VM code VM2. I'm just trying to create a VM2 here. Let's create a VM2 here. All this, let's make it as it is. We don't need to go for any further modification on that. I'm just giving the username and password, which can be used for connecting. Now I move to a networking tab here. Now virtual network, if you're connecting here, I'll get an option here right now. Now, in case screen, I think it's already visible. I hope all of us can able to see my screen. Right now, I'm sharing the Microsoft Azure portal. I hope you are able to see one. Look like it's a problem from your side because in my secondary monitor, I am able to see this one. The screen has been shared. I think Janardhan also it's been confirmed. He is able to display has been okay. So I think Romel look like it's a problem from your side. If you can just cross check or rejoin, that'd be good. Now, right now, we can able to see when you're creating a virtual machine, you are getting an option to add into the existing virtual network, or you have a provision to configure a new one. Now, we are not going for doing that. Now, I'm trying to map with the HR, the network which you've been currently it's been created. Now, let's try to see what's happening on the VM level. Right now, what we are done, we are trying to create a second VM name called VM2, and we have mapped this VM2 is the name we are given. It's called VM2 is the name we are given, and the same locations we are configured, and we are trying to map with the same virtual network which is being configured in my region or in a data center. That's called HR network. With where you're going to map, we are trying to map in the HR network subnet A. Now I'm just creating this one. Now let's try to understand what's happening on the VM level. So it will take a minute time. Now you may be noticing like once the VM has been configured, from where this got an IP address. Let's wait that. So we need to wait 1 or 2 minutes for completing this activity. Right now the deployment is in progress, so we need to wait. Right now the deployment has been completed. Now, if you go back to this virtual machines, let's go back to the virtual machine. Now, if you go to virtual machine, right now it's been finalizing this one. The reason it's been still showing it, creating. So we need to wait 1 more minute. Let me refresh. Yes, it's been created. Now, if you click on the VM2 and go to the properties, you may be able to see this got a public IP address. Now, if you go to the networking tab, you may be notice this got IP address from the same port, right? Clear? The first VM is got 4. Right now, the second VM is being able to get the IP address from the second one. Now, why this has been getting an IP address from a 10.0.5? The reason it's been like this VM is been associated with a particular VNet. This similar like this has been associated with a particular scope in a on-premises one. Just compare this with the scope which has been created, because yesterday when you configured on-premises one, you maybe have configured with a scope 1 or a scope 2, right? Now, in case if this been if I would have configured another VNet in my network, for example, like if in case I have a another VNet is in place, for example, like I have a finance network. Now, if you have, I'm just giving like a VM3. Now I have another VM. It's been configured. Now I'm creating another VNet. It's called creating a new one. It's called a finance one. Okay. Now here I'm instead of 10.0. I'm using a different series like a 10. 1.0 dot this one. Okay. Now, right now, what I'm doing, VM3, I'm mapping to different VNet. That's called finance VNet. I'm not mapping to HR VNet. Okay. Now you can able to see the difference. It's similar like you created another scope in your DHCP and you are assigning. Right now you can able to see VM3 has been created and it's been associated with a different virtual network. Previously we were mapped with HR1, right? Now if you can able to see you now, this is all it's since we are creating a okay, right now the deployment is in progress. Right now the deployment is been completed. Now if you go to the virtual machine, right now you'll be able to see there is a VM3 also it's been created. But the difference which you are going to see here, this has been connected to a different scope or a different virtual network. And you may be able to see here, the interesting part, it's been like IP address ranges got changed, right? VM2 and VM1. What was the range it's been given? 10.0.0. Series, right? Why this has been showing 10.1.0? Because this has been mapped to different network. It's clear. Any question from anyone? If you could, can you comment it on the chat? Maybe it's been a confusing one. I just try to uh, deliver it in a simple way. Now, if you are understood the concept, can you comment it on the chat so I can ensure we both are on the same page? Okay, just waiting for a response. Only few people has been commented. So in case if you have any question, let me clear. I think Sandesh is typed a couple of network address details. I'm coming to that point, Sandesh. Next is I thought of discussing the same thing only. Okay, so good. So right now you may be noticed we have configured a pool of range, but in most of the cases you may be observed like here this the IP address 4 is been assigned when you have configured VM1 on another network. Did you create another subnet for finance in VNet? Yes, we have created another VNet, and inside that VNet we have created a subnet default subnet. You may be noticed here. You can able to see inside This one you've been created a subnet here. This is a subnet default is 1.0.0.4. You can able to see this is the subnet. This is a default subnet is being created. By default, it's been in case if you're not created, it will configure with the /24 default one. This is a normal way it's been VNet is been working. Clear? Okay. Now, in case if you notice, like we have created a two VNet. One is been configured with a 10.0.0.0.16, and the second VNet you have configured with 1.0. Now, in both the cases, if you maybe noticed, VM1 is being assigned with an IP address 10.0.0.4 only. Now, what happened to the 1, 2, 3 IP address? Any idea? You may be noticed like when you create a finance also, you may be able to see few IP addresses being not used, like a 10.1.0.0.0. What happened to this IP address? 10.1.0.0.1. What happened to this? 10.1.0.2. What happened to this? So you may be able to observe a couple of pattern here. There are few IP addresses are by default Microsoft is been reserved. So if you take any network, it's not 10.11, okay. Whenever you're going to configure any VNet or it's when you're configuring any networking on a Microsoft side, you maybe notice a couple of IP address like a 10x.x. Generally, this is the term generally we are using. I just pasted on the chat. x.x.0, that's called 10.0.0.0. Generally it's been assigned for a network address. I just pasted on the chat. And any IP address ending with a 1, by default Microsoft is been assigned for a gateway IP address, and 2 and 3 is been reserved for a DNS, and .25 is 255 is been reserved for a broadcast. So whenever you're configuring any VNet or whenever you're configuring any virtual machines or associated any VM to VNet, you maybe notice a pattern that always this IP address will be starting with the 4. So don't confuse where is 1, 2, 3. The reason it's been like there are 5 IP addresses by default. Microsoft is been reserved. I hope it's been clear now. Maybe a few people maybe had this thought in the mind and they forgot to ask this question in this forum. So the reason is this. So it's been assigned for this one. Now you need to remember here, right now this IP address, all this VM is been received here. Now in case if you're noticing here, right now we have a virtual machine is been configured here. Now in case if you want to do any kind of a virtual network or make any kind of a modification, all that generally it's been done inside a tab called virtual network. Previously we were using a DHCP management console. Inside DHCP management console you have a flexibility to make any kind of a modification. You are able to see any kind of a configurations, right? Any configuration change. Now if you're going here, you can able to see the do all kind of a network management, right? You are able to see like the connected devices. You can able to see these are the connected device. Right now it's been available. If you want to add additional subnet, you can able to configure it here. For example, like if you're thinking like I need to have a additional subnet for my network, or if you want to make some NAT gateway or some network security group to be created, all this can be able to do it here. Now in case if you want to configure any, in case if you want to do any kind of a modifications here, you can able to do it here. Like if you want to do any DNS server or anything to be assigned, that you can able to do it from here. For example, like for this particular network VNet, if you want to do any kind of a network or a DNS, that can be able to configure it. We'll try to cover DNS also today, and we have a one more session is been coming on the next month first week. It's called AZ801. So Active Directory design and Active Directory part we'll be covering during that session. So whatever pending topic we have, we'll try to cover or include in the same one. So there are a few topics in balance here. So we'll be concluded. We'll be including that 801 exam. So it's been whatever topic. Because this, if you want to write an exam, you need to have a both the paper need to write. So whatever topics we have pending here, in the October month, we have 801 is been coming. During that session, we'll cover that. So don't worry about that. Now, right now we have seen like how IP address has been configured or how it's been assigned, right? Now, if you go back to this VM, you may be noticed all these IP addresses are configured in a dynamic mode. What do you mean dynamic mode? It's dynamic. We understood that there is a concept called dynamic and a static here. Now, in case if you want to do any kind of a management, it's mean like any kind of a situation, you have a kind of a situation, you have something like you have a in case if you want to do any kind of a reserved like IP address, if you want to configure any kind of a reserved IP address, then you need to have any kind of static IP address to be assigned. How this has been done? You can able to go to an option called networking. Inside your networking, you have option to configure as a static. By default, whatever IP address which you are getting from a VNet, by default, this has been configured as in a dynamic mode. Now, right now, if you go inside the networking or a particular VM, I'm giving a scenario in front of you. Right now, you got an IP address for your web server. Right now, the 10.0.0.0.4. This is the IP address of your web server. So right now, you got an IP address for a web server. Now, in case if you want to do any kind of a modification, for example, like uh, we all of us know, in case if you're doing any kind of a modification or in case if you're restarting a VM, that may lead to a changes in the IP address, right? So that's one of the problem generally we are facing, especially when you are doing on in a, production scenarios. Like for example, like you have a web server is been available. Now you don't need to go for any kind of a modifications or on the IP address part, because generally you may be already aware if there is any web server is available, that's generally it's mapped with the IP address also. So in case if there is any modification or in case if there is any changes happening, that may lead to an outage, that may lead to an application outage in the front end side. Now, if you're coming here, if you go to a public IP address, uh, by default, we understood like in case, even though if you're using a cloud, by default, you may be noticed here in the IP address configuration. In the private address bracket, you may be seen like it's mentioned as a, it's configured as a dynamic IP address, right? You may be able to see like it's been configured as a dynamic IP address. So you can able to see here. Now, as I said, it's been there is a some situation. It's been like you have a server. It's been like it's been configured with a web server. You cannot hold or you cannot have a dynamic IP address. So in case if you want to make any modification, you can click on this. Once you click this one, this will be taking to another window where you are getting a flexibility to configure this as a static or similar like your reserved IP address, right? When you had done a on-premises one, we heard about a topic called reservation, right? So in case if you want to configure as a reservation, you can able to configure, right? You can mention this is the IP address has been permanently it's been assigned for this one. Okay. So you need to just ensure that there is a floppy disk kind of a symbol is been available. You are enabling it. Now, for your information, private IP address a uh, is not a costly product. It's not, there is no charge is been available for this. It's a free product. You don't need to pay. You don't need to pay anything for that. But a public IP address, you have to pay this one. Now, that's about private IP address management. Now, let me move to the public IP address part. Now, before that, if you have any questions or any doubt, let me have a discussion on that. Now, right now we understood the right now we are discussed about how IP address is being assigned. Now, once you are good, let's move to the public IP address part. Then we'll be moving to a concept of a DNS also. If you're good, can you comment it on the chat window? Can we change VNet more easy to remember? Yes, you can able to change it. You can able to go to, I think you have an option for changing now in the latest one. You need to resume name option. Copy this. We need to just check it that we need to do some research on that. I remember there is a tagging can be enabled here. It's easy for you to understand. You can able to add a tagging here, like who has been using. For example, like this for HRDC computer, something you can able to do. Tagging you can able. Previously, we were getting an option to make a modification here. I need to see if there is any changes there. So better you do a tagging to that. Yes, Sandesh, but VNet and virtual network is same old. Now, answering to the VNet changing more easy to remember. Better you enable a tag into that account to the VNet. You have an option for a tag that you can add a tagging who has been using, where he's been using, and who is the application owner. You can put a tag over there. If you want to put as multiple tag, put it like it's in here. Application owner has been app owner Robin H. So you'll be able to identify who is the application. It will be easy for you to identify. Clear? I got only two questions and it's been covered. Okay. I'm using a public key given from Azure File pay. Static one having to pay anything. You have to pay Kamal charge for that. For if you forget to disassociate a public IP address upon configuration, how long take it before Microsoft will charge us? If you an example, we forgot to disassociate a public IP address and the configuration, how long does it? It's like every monthly billing it's been doing. It's been monthly billing only. So in case if you are not disassociated, along with the VM monthly bill, it's been added. I'm using a public IP address given Azure while creating a VM. Is it a static one? Generally, that will be common. It's been a dynamic one. So you'll have a dynamic one. So you need to pay accordingly. And if you want to go for a static, you can add it in public IP address. I'm coming to the public IP address portion now. Anything related to the private IP address? You have any questions? Public IP address next we'll cover now. Okay, so we can proceed further. Okay, good. Now, right now we have seen like how IP address is been configured, and this is on the public IP and on the private IP address. But when you are in a customer place or when you are using Azure, you maybe have to use a public network, right? You maybe have to connect to internet. And right now we understood the private network. We like your Azure network, basically use a private IP address, which are not routable on the public network. Now, to support network that exists both Azure or on premises, you have to use both the type of a network also. So public IP address has been IP address. It's been assigned to a dedicated resource, and this been assigned by default by the Microsoft until unless if it is not unassigned or it's not disassociated by the cloud network engineer, that IP address is been by default, it's been assigned to a VM. You maybe already notice here also, right now you have a VMs here, a couple of VMs been configured. By default, if you maybe notice here, by default, automatically a public IP address is by default, it's been assigned to us. Now, if you go to Microsoft document, and if you are typing Azure Public IP price, you maybe notice there is some charge Microsoft is been doing for the public IP address based on what is the type of the SKU is being configured, and basically like what is the charge is being given. It's been like what is the SKU is being configured. Based on that, there will be some charge Microsoft is doing. Now, public IP address generally used. It's been like especially to connect to external world. Now, if you're seeing here on the Microsoft Azure side, um, you have a different type of resource you may be able to see here. Like you have a virtual machine network interface card, you may be having internet facing load balancers, or you may be having VPN gateways or a application gateway or a Azure firewall. Now, public IP address are by default is being used by all these resources: VPN gateway, application gateway, Azure firewall, internet facing load balancers, and it's been used by even your VM also. So in Microsoft Azure case, public IP address are created in a IP version 4, and it's been created in IP version 6 also. So it can be configured either it's in a static mode or it's been configured as in a dynamic mode also. Both the mode by default it's been supported on the Microsoft side. So what do you mean by dynamic public IP address? So the IP address it's been assigned to a VM, and the lifespan of that IP address will be like whenever you are rebooting a Azure resource, till that time the IP address will be allocated. So the moment when you the IP address, whatever IP address has been assigned to your Azure VM, that IP address will be released the moment when you stop the VM using a Azure portal. Right now, you may be seen like if you're taking Azure, you have an option for stop or a restart option, right? So the moment you press a button stop on Azure portal, that IP address will be released. So right now, end of the session, you need to understand by default there is a public IP address is been by default Microsoft is been assigning to a VM until unless if you're not removing this IP address, it's been assigned to that VM, and you need to have paying the money to the Microsoft. Now, in case if you are rebooting a VM or if you're stopping a VM, the IP address will be released. Now, there are some situation, as I said, it's like if you want to use it, you need to ensure that the IP address or the resource, if you want to keep it the same, and you don't need to make any changes onto the VM IP address, and explicitly if you want to move into a static, that can be able to configure here. Now let's try to create a public IP address. Now let's go for creating a public IP address. Before that, I need to share a couple of points. You will not be in a position to bring your own public IP address from your on-premises to Azure side. There's a one point you need to remember, because I think yesterday, day before yesterday, someone is asked, I have a public IP address being available in my on-premises one. Is there any possibility to bring, or is there any possibility to use that IP address here? Now, technically, you are not allowed, or you cannot bring your own public IP address to on-premises, or it's in the cloud network. So whatever public IP address you are using on-premises, that you cannot use this one. Now, each location, right now, we already been seeing like Azure having a different data centers or a different region is available. So each region may be having using a different set of public IP address ranges. You cannot demand like, hey, I need a 10.cds, or I need a 20 cds or a 30 cds. Each location, because Microsoft coming to Microsoft side, Microsoft is having each location is been assigned with pool of IP address. So it's going to be having a different range of IP address, or it's a unique range of IP address you may be able to notice in each region. Now you need to remember one more point. In case you have a multiple regions is been available for your account, you will not have a option to move IP address from one range to or one region to another region. So public IP address cannot be moved between a regions. So all public IP address which you are configuring here, or if you are getting here, it's a region specific. So you don't have any option to move from one region to another region. So that option is been not available. Now, if your business or if your organization having a data centers in a different region, and you may be having a different public IP address with a different range, it's may be connected in each region. So you may have to go for a traffic manager for doing any kind of a traffic management, or you may be having to use some kind of routing mechanism inside Azure to ensure that all the regions or all the business which is been scattered across the globe, it's been communicating each other. So you need to either you need to use a Microsoft Azure Firewall Traffic Manager in different, and with the help of that, you are able to use it. So at the advantage, it's been like you either you have to use this one at any time. So you'll be able to use a public IP address in any other question. Okay, good. So that's about the public IP address. Now let's try to understand. Right now, you may be seen like it's the public IP address has been created automatically. In case if you want to create manually, you can able to go to Azure portal and you can type a command called public IP address, and there you can able to see existing created available one. So we'll be able to see this is the existing public IP address is been currently it's been created. Now, in case if you want to create a new one, and you have options here, you can able to click the button called create. Now here, if you want to create a public IP address in version 4 or a version 6, you have a provision or you have flexibility to select it. Now there is something called SKU. There is some term you may be able to see. Basically, like how the IP address feature or how the mode or the type of the public IP address you want. Basically, this has been supporting a basic or a standard only. So this depends upon how what are the feature is being supported here on each one. uh, Especially you maybe heard about a concept called availability zone, or it's been a zone redundant or a no zone or a zone kind of some redundant mechanism it's been available. So it's type based on the price or based on the feature it's been supported. You will be able to create different options. Now I'm going for a basic mode. Now in case if you are not heard about this one, let me give you a document which is available on my available handy with me. I think you can. I just got some document available with me. This giving a beautiful explanation or a giving you details about the difference between a basic SKU and dynamic SKU. So these are the two options you can able to see. It's me giving a beautifully explained a comparison of this one. Now I'm going for a chart. This one. Now, in case if you want to do any kind of a labeling, like if you want have already have a DNS available, that details you'll be able to give it. Now I can able to give where this which resource group this needs to be configured. Right now, if you are making any kind of a basic mode, you may be seeing like redundant options and are not available right now here, right? See, there are some few options it's been removed now because standard only it's been supported couple of availability zone or a redundant mechanism for you. So with the help of that, in case if you want to do any kind of a availability for a public IP address, you can able to configure. Now let's keep it a default one, and you have an option to create a public IP address. So next time when you are creating a VM, if you want to map that VM to this existing public IP address, you can able to do it. I'll show you from where you can able to configure it. Now, right now, the public IP address creation is in progress. Okay, so this is about public IP address creation. Right now, the creation has been completed. Now you can able to see here. Yes, it's been HR has been configured. Now next time, if you are creating a new VM, uh, at the time of a creation, if you want to map this public IP address, you will get an option, right? You may be able to see there's an option called public, right? Now, in case if I've selected resource group, everything is properly. Now, if you go to networking, you will be able to map to existing one. See here, there is an HR, there is a one public IP address available. You can able to map to this, or you can go for a creating a new one. So this is the way the public IP address has been configured. Now, right now you need to remember the public IP address has been right now it's been configured. It's been configured in a dynamic mode. In case if you want to do any kind of a changes to that, you can go to the public IP address and there in the properties configuration, you will be able to. Right now you can able to see static. Is the right now the account right now I'm using is got an option of a static one. In your account, you may be having option for changing to dynamic and this one because right now, as I said yesterday, my ID has got problem. So I was using my friend ID. So this ID or the subscription he is having is a static public one. So in case if you want to do, and this IP address will be uh, dynamic and static option will be getting on your subscription. Now the point you need to remember, the moment when you make any kind of a reboot or anything here, right now you can able to see, for example, like I'm forcefully if I'm shutting down your VM, you may be notice the public IP address will be removed from here. Right now, we can able to see we have been forcefully rebooted. Right now, you can able to see here. Right now, you can able to see here. IP address has been. Right now, just to refresh, you may be able to see it. I think this ID is having static IP address has been assigned. Maybe because of that, it's not released. Or look like this ID is having a static IP address has been assigned to each VM. Now, in case generally in most of the situation, like the moment when you stop this one, the public IP address will be released. So you can, when you're doing your lab, you may be able to notice this change. Now, in case if you want to release or disassociate this one, you can go to the network properties from the network tab. You have an option to disassociate. So this is forcefully disassociating. Like in case if you want to make any kind of a cost saving, that you can be able to do it from here. So like you want to remove a public IP address, that you will be able to do it here. Any question? I just joined. May I know what is today's topic? We were discussing about a cloud DHCP, how this public IP address is being configured, how the private IP address is being configured, how this is being distributed, from where this is being assigned, and how this subnet and the IP address can be configured, and we try to compare with your DHCP on premises also. These are the options, or these are the topic. Right now it's been covered. Now we'll be moving to a DNS concept now. Team, any question on the DHCP or IP releasing part? If you're good, we can move to next topic called DNS. This next topic, it's been a DNS. How DNS is being configured, and so now before moving this one, let me ask you questions. This is the IP address. This is the one questions for you today. This is a quiz, live quiz. This is the question. This is the first question for you. One public IP address has been assigned to one VM detection. So in case if you want to use the same public IP address to multiple one, you may have to configure firewall kind of options. So that's a kind of a point to instead of using a point to point, you maybe have to go for a kind of a hub and spoke kind of a movement. So this is the one question for you. So you can just pose the answer. Okay, so answer for this question is answer C. The IP address has been assigned from a pool of available IP address. It's been based on the location, or it's been based on the region it's been. So that's the question for the day. Now let's move to a next topic called DNS. Before that, we'll take a 3 to 5 minutes break, and after the break, we'll start DNS concept. How DNS is being configured in a on-premises one, and we'll try to understand how DNS is being configured in a external also. So, or in the cloud side also. So this is the topic right now we are going to discuss. I hope all are back. Is there any we can create? No, sir. Is there any way we can create a VPN under Azure to Oman? Can you rephrase that question once again, Arnold? I understood like you are in a kind of a scenario. You need to connect to on-premises and cloud. This is what I understood, right? Am I right, Arnold? So if you can just rephrase that question, that'll be help me to answer it. Can we connect? Arnold, can you rephrase that question? I think we'll wait. Now, Manjula is asking a different question related to the storage. Can we convert a managed disk to an unmanaged disk? No, Manjula. By default, there is no option to convert managed to unmanaged disk directly. Only the option or the workaround generally we are using. You can copy the VST from the managed display and manage one. There is no option it's been right now. It's been directly it's been not available. I hope it's been clear, Manjula. Manjula, you're there. I was saying there is no option for conversion of a from a one converting from managed to unmanaged. Direct option is being not available. Or you may have to use Azure VM. This kind of a commands you can able to use. With the help of that, you can do some copying of your data from a managed to unmanaged. There's only one option we have. There is no option of direct conversions available here. Maybe if you're thinking like a conversion, like similar like your basic to dynamic kind of a conversion, that option is being not available here. Now, any method to have a one public IP address to and address our server port? Or Sandesh has been posted another question is related. Is there no possibility to have a static IP address? Yes, we can have a static IP address because as I said, it's been you are getting a dynamic and static IP address for public IP address. So you are getting both the option. If you go to network properties, there you will get an option for configuring as a static. Right now, the ID which right now I'm using, that's got a static public IP address only. If you go to here, it's been is getting a static IP address only. Generally, we'll get one more IP address here for a static or a dynamic. Now, this ID he's been using. Now, if you just get ID, is you can able to see it's using a static only. Now go to configuration, you can able to see there is an option for it's using a static IP address only. Now you have an option or you are getting a flexibility to this one. Manjula, disk is been not covered here, possible in the AZ 104, or it's been we have one more program is coming. That time I can able to do a quick demo of the storage account part. So in case if he's not familiar, you can just go to a disk. Now, when you ask this one, let me show you. You can just go to VM here. You can go to a disk option and you will be getting an option like something called add data disk, right? So you can able to add a disk, add existing disk. There you can able to add one. So this will be configured as a unmanaged disk. So you can able to add, you can able to add it. Possible in the AZ10 exam will cover more about how this is being managed in the disk or in a management. That means each server needs to have a public IP address. No, Charida. Uh, we can have a each VM can have a public IP address, but the cost is being involved. So generally, if you take a organizations, they will be using a concept of a firewall. There will be doing some options called NATing. So generally the option generally you're using is called NATing. So generally we'll be removing a public IP address from all the internet phased one, because you take a scenario something like you have a 2000 VMs available. No point of giving a public IP address to all VMs. So generally administrators what generally will do at the time of a creation, you may be seeing an option called none, like at the time of a VM creation, you may be seen an option in the public networking tab called public IP address is, you can able to set this as a none here, right? So we'll set it either none, or in case if any VM is been configured with a public IP address, we'll remove that. So that's a way generally in a production scenarios it's been working. Manjula, I'll try to send, or I'll do one thing, Manjula, regarding how to add a unmanaged disk. I'll upload the unmanaged disk storage concept PDF in the Discord link. You can download that today. It'll help you on that. Okay. So I'll send you that document. Now, Sandesh question is being answered. Now, Arnal, I was waiting for your question. Is there any way we can create a VPN under Azure on premise? Yes, we can able to do that. Arnal, I understood your question is something like you are in a kind of a scenario where you have a on-premises infrastructure is been available, and the similar one you have a Zoom. So you have a scenario. It's been like you have on-premises and you have a um, uh, cloud servers available. So that kind of a scenarios, you may have to go for a VPN option. So Arnal, you need to configure S2S or it's a P2S or kind of Azure Express route option can be able to use. So you can able to do that. There is a one resource customizing the way provision. So what is about that? That's the prefixes if you want to set in your organization, like it's like a DNS kind of options addition prefix you want to do that you are generally configured with that option. So Sandesh, that option is been coming covering under the DNS concept. So that time we'll be discussing that. Okay. Now let's move to the next topic called DNS. Now, so depending upon how you use your Azure or on premises, or whether it's an ISaaS or a PaaS, you need all the virtual machines or all the on-premises host or whatever resources which is being deployed in the virtual network. You need to communicate each other. So this communication can be on-premises to uh, cloud or inside a cloud. So all it's been included. So although you have been enabled a IP address for communication, it's been very difficult for you to remember IP addresses, right? So that's the reason in the IT infrastructure, generally we are using a term called DNS. Now, all of us know it's been like, in case if you want to do or any kind of a name resolution, I'm just giving a scenario. It's been like um, in a normal network, I'm just taking it to the window and to the whiteboard. Just give me a second. Now, I'm just giving a scenario right now we are doing, right? It's been like you have a you have a laptop or a mobile available in front of you. Now you have a laptop. Now, if you want to connect to a servers called Microsoft servers, now if you want to connect to Microsoft server, for example, like Microsoft ms.com, Generally, we are not typing an IP address in the browser, right? Generally, in the laptop, you may type like http/ms.com, and finally, it's been reached through your access point. So when the packet of the data, if they need to be routed to a particular location, it's making a connection to a DNS, and with the help of that, the name resolution, this is being connected. Now, that's the way generally it's been working. Now, if you want to configure a DNS, so we have two scenarios here. One, it's been like if I need to do any kind of a routing, or if in case if I need to do any kind of a modifications, or if I need to do any kind of a name resolution, I can able to use a couple of I need to use a couple of solutions called DNS. Now, if you're seeing here in Azure or on premises, there are multiple methods can be used here. One is called internal DNS. You will have a option is called internal DNS. So in case if you want to do any kind of a name resolution, you may be aware that we can able to use a internal DNS. By default, all the VMs in the Azure, it's been configured with Azure default one also. In case if you want to do any kind of a, you don't need to go for any kind of a separate configuration. By default, there is a Azure itself is being configured with a default one. Or you can able to configure a options called Azure private DNS also. There is another option is called Azure private DNS. So, or you have an option called Azure public zone also. Now, if you're seeing Azure or on premises, or it's been uh, internal DNS server, what is the purpose of a DNS? Basically, like DNS been using for a name resolution, because when we had a discussion on a DHCP, it's on in a on premises one or a Azure one. This basically using for a communication, and all the communication in the infrastructure is been working. One second, it's getting a message. Uh, Azure is been using Azure private DNS or a public zone, or it's been default zone for name resolution. In a on-premises one, we were using a local DNS server which is been available in your network. With the help of that, we were able to do a kind of a name resolution. Now, I'm getting a lot of questions here. What is a DNS? What is the use of a DNS? Can you comment it on the chat? There is a couple of a terminology you need to understand before doing a configuration on whether it's on a DNS or whether it's on in a Azure side. So at least we need to understand the basic terminologies. So can you comment what is the use of a DNS? Everyone, can you just comment it on the chat window? Now, few people has been started commenting. So we are trying to understand what are the terminologies being used. It's using for a resolving this one IP address. Okay. Now you can able to see this one. Okay. Now we got a few answers. Now all of us know DNS has been stands for domain name system. It's been, as Stephen said, it's been translating the IP address from a human readable format. Now I'm just trying to share you a couple of options here, because whether if you're using a DNS on in a on-premises one or Azure side, there is a couple of terminologies you need to understand. It's been like this already. You may be knowing a couple of terms here, so we'll not take much time on that. We'll not spend much time on this, so we can spend that time on configuring on a Azure side. So these are the few points we are trying to understand today. It's been like what is a DNS, how the DNS zone or a record is being configured. We'll try to understand in a Azure point, and we'll try to understand from a on-premises point also. Now, when you are seeing or when you are configuring a VM or any device in the network, um, IP address is the one component generally we are uh, using. So it's been assigned the IP address. It's okay. It's been like if you have only one or two or a maximum 10 computer available, it's been easy for you to remember the IP address. And if someone is asking what is the IP address Google has been using, it's been very difficult us to remember, right? It may be using a multiple one. So generally in a normal scenario in the infrastructure side, we'll take a help of a service called a DNS. With the help of a DNS, backend, whatever names you are typing, that will translate into IP address, and it's again it will translate to the digital format, and the communication will be established. Now that is the purpose of a DNS. So generally, if you are taking any network or if any um, network components is not only available in the Microsoft operating system. No, it's been available in all the server operating system, and you can able to see in all the network related services also. So it's basically it's maintaining a hierarchical distributed database, and with the help of database instead, because when you are seeing like when you are configured DHCP, it was holding a DHCP database, right? Similar way, DNS service also holding a database that's called a DNS database. There, they will be having some kind of entries will be available. What is the meaning of that entry? That generally known as records. That's called generally known as a DNS records. It's called DNS records. So with the help of a DNS record, you will be able to make any kind of modifications. It's just called DNS record. So how the translation is doing. For example, like um, all of us are using a mobile. Now, it's been very difficult for us to remember the mobile numbers, right? Maybe in the olden days, maybe our parents may be remembering the landline phone numbers, right? Few years before. Uh, when I was in a kid, I used to remember all my neighbors' phone numbers, landline numbers. Still, I remember few numbers, okay? But right now, in the new generation, or right now, even us also, we have a lot of contacts been available, but we don't know what is the mobile number right now is been using, right? I can remember only my mobile number only. I am not able, very difficult for me to remember other mobile number because right now all these numbers is been saved in a contact list in your mobile, right? The moment you type Sandesh or the moment you type Steven or it's been Kevin or it's been like Robin, you are getting details of right? You don't need to remember the name. Even though if you're typing a mobile number, back end there is a name resolution happening. Hey, it will tell this number is being used by so and so person. And in internet, if you're searching, you have a Truecaller kind of application is been available that is giving a complete database who is been using, and there is some tagging you can able to see. So all this information is been available there. So basically all it's been working with the help of some records. So similar way in your DNS also, the primary function or the primary uh, um, solution has been providing, it's been a name resolution only. So it's been basically working with the help of a hierarchy or with the help of a translation, this one. Now if you're taking internet, you will have a 13 root servers available across the globe. Now again it's been classified as a top level domain or a second level domain or a subdomain. So you may be that the reason you may be seeing like a google.com. Generally after .com there will be one more dot is been available. Generally we are not using because everyone knows that that last root it's been pointing to the root servers. Generally it's been https slash dot google dot com dot is there. Last root is been representing the root servers. So in the globe you will have almost a 13 12 to 13 root servers is available. So if any query is been going, by default that will be pointing to a root server, and root server is generally it's been moving or it's been helping. Generally this mean helping for any kind of a name resolution. So that's the way generally it's been working. Now when you are seeing a hierarchy, the finally you will be ending to a place or it's called a server name. That's generally known as a FQDN. You may be already aware that. Now, if you are seeing any names in the internet, or it's like if you are seeing any anything on in the any names on the VM, you may be seeing a term called FQDN, right? FQDN is generally stands for fully qualified domain name. Because if you are seeing this name, you will be able to identify which domain this server is being part or which domain this device is being part. They're generally known as a FQDN. So with the help of FQDN, you will be able to identify which server or this VM is belongs to which network. So that's the way generally it's been working. Now, when you're going for configuring a DNS, as I said, there are multiple methods you will be able to use it. Now, let me take you into a whiteboard. Um, Let me take you into whiteboard. Just give me a second. Okay. Now, right now we understood DNS is the option. With the help of that, you are able to do name resolution. Now, where you will be able to do or where you are going to install this DNS. Now, I have a scenario here. You have a Azure VM has been configured, and similar time you have a option of on-premises also. So I'm just giving a scenario. You have a on-prem available, and you have a cloud scenario also. In cloud also you have a n number of VM is being configured. Now in this scenario, this is a kind of a hybrid mode, right? So in this kind of a scenario, how DNS can be configured? Now we have a multiple options been available. In case in on-premises you have n number of computers available, you can take a Microsoft Windows over 2019 or a 2022. On top of that, you can install an operating system and you can install a DNS service. So this is generally known as a local DNS. Clear? Any question, anyone? So this all the VM which has been available or it's been all the computer which is been available or part of the network can able to do a name resolution with the help of this one. And internet, you will have a root services available. If you have configured this local server to internet, this can be able to connect your root server and you will be able to do all kind of a uh, uh, name resolution. Now, when it is coming to a cloud side, in a cloud, you can able to use multiple method. One one method is been like if you're taking a cloud, by default, all the VMs or all the VNet are by default configured with Azure default DNS. If you're able to see, if you're looking to a VM, you may be able to understand this one. But we share right now. If you take any um, VM, by default, if you take any VM, you may be able to see by default all the VMs are inherited from the virtual network. So by default, whatever virtual network which you are configuring on a Azure side, by default there is a default DNS is being configured. For example, like you go to virtual network. If you go to virtual network, HR or a finance, you may be able to see an option called DNS. You can able to see by default Azure is being configured a DNS. Maybe yesterday you may be noticed like when in the moment when you connected a VM, you may be seeing a name. It's been configured like a VM one dot X dot like a cloud. What is the name? It's being some lengthy name you may be seeing like cloud dot on prem dot some name is maybe yesterday you may be noticed, right? Because it's got a default DNS from the Azure itself. Now, if you go to custom domain Active Directory, if you're going, let me type a Active Directory here in Azure side. You may be able to see here there is a by default there is a domain is been assigned for this one. Right now, you may be able to see like on.microsoft.com is the domain by default. It's been assigned for this one. So there's a user I have. Is my friend is been having a ID is been configured here, and he is having on.microsoft.com. So this is by default. It's been configured. Now, in case if you want to make some names like apple.com or like orange.com, any of this domain, you can able to add the domain here. For example, like you are thinking like, I don't need any domain like a dot on microsoft.com or orange dot on microsoft.com. I don't need this kind of a lengthy name. Rather than that, if I need any kind of apple.com or I need something like a cloud hub.com or something, if you need, you can able to configure it. But the point you need to remember, these are the additional configurations you are configuring. So you have to purchase domain from a external vendor. You may be heard about a lot of external vendors or agencies are available in the internet. You may be heard one of the commonly used or company called GoDaddy.com, right? Have you heard about a company called GoDaddy.com? Right? So GoDaddy is generally it's been providing this one. So you can purchase a domain name from these external agencies. So you can able to manage or you will be able to provide configure this one. So once you purchase the license, that domain details you can able to validate here. So right now I'm discussing how domain can be configured here. Now that's the one option. So one option is been like second. Right now we have seen well. Right now we understood in case on the Microsoft side, by default Azure has been configured a DNS for us. Second thing, if you're thinking like, no, I don't need um, um, this kind of option. So we understood like we can go for external one and we can able to configure. Now that's one option. Second option is been like, instead of doing like this way, you can able to configure a local DNS server inside a cloud. Like in a cloud infrastructure, take a Azure VM and all the local DNS server, all the VMs inside a network can point to this DNS also. Similar like how you've been done in an on-premises one, on top of a Azure VM, you're installing a server operating system, and top of that, you are enabling a DNS servers, and all that DNS servers, all the VM are pointing to the local DNS server. How will you point? Because, for example, this local DNS server will have a IP address. For example, like this is like a 10.0.0.5. So what I will do in the VNet level or in the local virtual network level, I will tell, hey, going forward, servers, you don't need to use a Microsoft DNS server. I have my own local DNS server is been available in my network. I'll go to the network, then I'll mention custom, right? In the custom, I'll tell, hey, VNet, you don't need to go for a Microsoft. I have my own server. I'll give this DNS server. So what will happen? So any VM which is be associated with this HR VNet. For example, like you have in the morning, we have seen like how VM is been associating with the VNet, right? So you have 100 or a 200 based on the capacity or a pool, VMs are associated. Now, all the VMs in the virtual network of HR will use this IP address now. They won't be using that. So whatever DNS is being connected, right now, all the name resolution will be pointing to this one. Clear? So this is called local DNS service being configured on the Azure side. I'm just pausing here. I think I'm feeling like some people is maybe got confused right now. So I'm just pausing here for taking a FAQ now. Any questions? Any open question from anyone? I hope the concept is being clear to you, right? Anyone? Any members? Sandesh has been okay with this one. Any other member? It's been if you're not, the concept has been clear. Daminus, thank you. Charita also has been doing. It's been clear. Okay. Now only 5 people is responded. So just wait. Now, right now, if you maybe notice, the moment if you're implementing a DNS server here, you are installing a ISAS VM servers here, right? Right now, in case if you're thinking like, I don't need to depend on Microsoft DNS server, you are physically, you are installing a Azure VM on a Microsoft portal. Right now, what you're doing here, you are implementing, you are taking Azure VM, Azure VM, you are taking Azure VM here. Now, on top of the Azure VM, you are installing a operating system. On top of that, you are installing a DNS. Now, one question is coming here: who will do this server management? Because I have to pay additional cost for this VM also, right? Because in Microsoft case, or if you take any cloud service provider case, if you are spending any resources on the cloud side, we have to pay the money, right? If I'm installing a VM or if I'm using a VM, I have to pay the storage cost, I have to pay the compute cost, I have to pay the OS license. There is some additional cost or is been involved. I hope you're agreeing with this point, right? Now, generally what we can do in this kind of a situation, now you're thinking like all the VMs which is being configured inside a cloud has to use the customized DNS server available in your network. But I am not interested for a VM. So that kind of a situation, I can use a concept called Azure Private Zones. I can, instead of using a uh, physical ISAS machine, I'll be able to enable a component called Azure Private Zones. Now, this option you can able to see inside the Azure portal. Now, the moment if you type an option called Azure Zone, you can able to see an option called Azure Zones. Sorry, Azure Private Zones. You may be already aware that when you configure a DNS on a on-premises one, or when you are installing a DNS on in a Microsoft 2019 or a 2022 or a 16, how DNS has been working? It's been working with the help of a database. How database is been partitioned? It's been partitioned with the help of a concept called DNS zones, right? There will have a forward lookup zone and you will have a reverse lookup zone also. You maybe already heard or maybe read this concept, right? Primary forward lookup zone or a reverse lookup zone. Now, instead of using a private or instead of using a Azure VM, I can enable a private zone. So rather than creating a VM, I can create only the zones here. For example, like I can able to zones, like I can give a name, like I can name resource group cloud admin name. I'm just giving like it's called cloudhub.com. There's a name I given. I can create. I can create a zone, right? Study. Okay, study. I can able to create a private zone. I'm just creating a zones here, so we need to wait. I'll show you what we are going to do now. I'm just right now the top view only. We'll have a detailed discussion. Don't worry. Deployment is in progress. We are trying to create a zone.
What are the advantage of installing a local day other than using Azure day? Uh, the advantage which you are getting when you're using Azure default one, you maybe notice like the name FQDN, right? Always it's mean like aml dot on dot microsoft.com, some uh, lengthy name you are getting, but your organization, you're working for a company called Cloud Hub. If you're using a Microsoft Azure default one, your name will be like a server one dot cloud hub dot on dot microsoft.com. It's been a lengthy name, so you need to avoid that. And you are thinking like I need a customized name, and you don't want to go for a name resolution to Azure portal. You need to do it your own network, or your own using your own bnet. So that kind of a situation, you can go for a customized one. Now let me go to the private zone, which right now it's been created. Now you may be able to see there is a domain it's been created. Now once it's been created here, there is a concept called virtual network links. So right now what we have done, we have created a zone. Now you are saying to Microsoft, any machine from particular network, it's been requesting for a name resolution. Go and do the name resolution here. You are linking to that network. So what is the link name? You will be like, you will give this for HR. So I'm just giving, you can able to give any computer from the HR network will do a name resolution to this database. You will do an option called enable auto registration. What do you mean enable auto registration? Whenever there is any virtual machine is being created inside a HR network, automatically that information will come and create inside the private DL zone. You may be remembering a concept called dynamic update in the on-premises DNS, right? Have you heard about a concept called dynamic DNS? Like the moment when you create, automatically this has been creating a database, right? So automatically this will create this one. Right now, if you can able to see this DNS database can able to have created with a couple of records also here. See, now you can able to see any record set, all the database or whatever computer is been registered, everything is been updated inside this database. You can able to see there is, you can able to create records similar like how it's been created in the on-premises DNS. So all the name resolution will do with the help of a private DNS. So what is the advantage you are getting? You can able to link to multiple network. So if there is any VM is been created, all that VM will be created inside this one, and you have an option for creating additional records also. I'm just pausing here in case if you have any questions. If you, I think Sandesh is mark has been good. Is that a, I'm just getting a options here. What is the charge, or it's been uh, charge has been available for Microsoft private DNS. Generally, if you're seeing a Microsoft DNS part, even though if you're configuring a private DNS, there is a charge that's been available. So that depends upon how it's been resolving. So if you go to a Microsoft portal, and as per my knowledge, there is some dollars is being charged based on the zone. So if you don't, if your private DNS price, if you type, you may be able to see there's a DNS charging options. Like uh, you can able to see the zone wise, there is some charges been available. You can able to see this the charge. There is a charge available for this one because it's a paid resource. Yes, this is in a Azure level, because if you want, because on premises, Charita, you already know, You have a box, server box is been available. On top of that, you can install Windows Server 2019 or a 2022. And on top of that, you can create a DNS and you can do a name resolution. Now, in case if you want to map or if you are thinking like this DNS, if you want to go to the external world, you can go for an option called public zone. Public zone, it's been available. Let's go this type of zone. Let's call it DNS zone. Now, if you want, if you're thinking like, no, I need to connect to external world, and if you want to route into internet, then you can able to configure DNS zones here also. This similar something called Azure Public DNS zone. So whatever ID has been created, there will be NS record will be created here. So this server names, I'll show you that name. Just give me like a cloud, uh, cloud.com. I'm just giving cloud.com. Just create a. I'm just giving a DNS zones here. We can use a free DNS also, but production scenario due to security reason, we are not preferring in production scenario. So Charita, you need to have a security because in it's network security also it's been matter when whether you are using on a all these things, right? So that's about the public zone has been created now. Now, if you go to a zone, now you will be able to see there is a zone has been created. Now you may be able to see there is a this is a public zone. For example, like you have created uh, a zone or you have called cloud.com. Now, if anyone from the internet, if they are typing a cloud.com and if they want that request to come to inside your network, the option is been like you can create a public zone and you will be able to see there is a 5 name servers is been created here, right? So this name servers details you can add as a record in the GoDaddy or the Cloudflare kind of a external vendor because you need to purchase that domain also, right? How generally domain is been purchased with the help of this kind of a vendor. So now once you purchase a GoDaddy.com, you will be getting a login IDs, right? If you go to GoDaddy site in the website, you will be getting a ID. So you can able to purchase a domain here, for example, like a cloudhub.com. I'll purchase a hub. I'll purchase this ID. So I need an account also. Once I got an account, I'll get a similar kind of record or a database like this. See, this kind of a database I'll get. Now what I will do in the records, I'll mention, hey, Cloud GoDaddy site. If anybody in internet is been coming with the entry code cloudhub.com, receive the request and you need to pass that into this domain. I'll add all this information as a record in this portal. Clear? This NS record will be added in the domain. So old record will come directly to here. Any question from anyone? Team, any questions? Maybe it's a very vast topic. So it's been uh, we need a lot of discussion and debate on that. Yeah. So okay, it's been clear. So this is the way generally the public zone it's been working. Now Couple of terminologies generally we are using on a Azure side, um, like you maybe heard about a concept called DNS client or a cache or a resource records and recursive queries. So I hope already you're familiar with these terms because all of us is already worked on a DNS scenario. So I'll upload this PPT on the Discord portal. So it will help you to understand this one. Now, there is a few terms of generally we are using a cloud that's called a DNS server. That's been the server where you are installing a DNS service. That generally known as a DNS servers. And you have a DNS client is available. So DNS client is nothing, any device or any uh, device or any workstation who is been requesting for a DNS name resolution. That generally known as a DNS client. And DNS zone is nothing. Whenever you are creating any DNS, by default, there is a database is being created. Now inside the database, all the informations are saved. All the informations are saved in a one format called zone. And inside a zone, you will have a records has been available. So with the records only, it's doing all kind of a name resolution. So this already you may be knowing. So there is a lot of records. Generally, we are using a DNS concept. One is called a start of authority. That's called SOA record. SOA record generally we are using, for example, like if you have a primary server or a secondary server is been available in your network, because there are some situation you maybe heard about a concept called RODs, right? For example, like you need to configure some kind of a server in a place where you don't have a physical security is been available. So that kind of a situation, we will create a read-only kind of a database. Or there are some situation you need to have a multiple DNS server is being required. So with the help of a multiple DNS server, if you can able to do a name resolution or a load balancing, that generally known as a secondary server. How DNS is been working? Now we understood there is a database is been available. Now who can do this read and write of this database? That been decided based on how you configuring your DNS server. So generally, if it is Windows Server 2019 or a 2022, this can be configured in two mode. That's called primary or a secondary, or it's called RODC mode. So the way it's been can be configured. Now SOE is a kind of a record, like that's called a primary zone or a secondary zone. Now, SOE is the term generally we are using. For example, like you have a multiple server is been available. Now, how the servers will know is there any modification is happened in the database? Is not that every time we are sending a email to the secondary admin, right? Saying that, hey, this is Robin. I've added one record here. You make a changes in your server. No, this is an automated process. So how generally this is being configured? Because there is a number will be available that's called SON number. So if there is any modification, it can be addition or it can be adding or it can be deleting. Everything is being tracked. If any, it's with the help of a SOA number. In case if you are making any SOA, in case of any modification on the DHCP database, this SOA number will change. So if there is any SOA number change happen based on how you configured a zone transfer, there is a concept called zone transfer in the DNS. So that's called incremental and auxiliary zone transfer. There is a concept is been available. If there is any modification happen based on how this zone transfer is being configured, secondary server will connect to primary server and will tell, hey boss, how are you? Tell me the SOA number. So primary will tell, I'm good. This is my SOA number. So they will do a comparison. Hey, these SOA numbers are matching or is there any change? If there is any matching or if there is any difference, they will do a zone transfer or this database transfer. Now, other record is generally like a is the record is generally using if you want to save any numbers or it's been like any names of a VM in the database that's been generally saved, or the VM or the workstation or a device informations are saved in a host record. Typically, A is being used if you are using a IP version format. That is basically like a name to IP. It's been configured with A. In case if you're using IP version 6, the last terminology you can able to see, there is a for A will be used for a IP version 6 format. And if there is any active directory has been available in a network, that generally it's been represented with a SRV record. Because the moment you type your when you today morning you log into a laptop, right? Using Robin or Amit or a Chedida. The moment you give a username, how it's been authenticated, or in your office, how this has been authenticating. The moment you give a username and password with the help of a net logon, you will log in and this will be connected to the nearest DNS server. In the DNS server, it will be searching a entry code SRV record, because all your authentication of your user account or authorization is being handled by your Active Directory in your network. So this will be how I will reach to Active Directory. It's been with the help of a DNS. Inside a DNS, you have an entry code SRV. With the help of that, it's been connected. So these are so typically these audits been work with the help of the resource record. Now uh, already we are on top of that time, and now last few hours, so the last I can say like last 5 days, it was very good uh, event. It's been like I got a lot of answers or response from your time. So your learning has been not stopping here. Now we have another program is been coming that's called AZ 801. I request everyone to join this program, so whatever pending topics we have, because Active Directory and all the topic we'll be discussing there. So I request everyone to save, uh, register for this program. So Surag is already shared a link. So follow the link, Discord link. Make sure that this link is been shared to all your friends also, so all of us can get a chance to learn a new technology that can help you to enable your skill set also. Suryak, you can share the link on once again on the channel, so that will help us the people to join. So with that note, we are pausing this event here. It's not ending the program here, because it's a continuous initiative to end for the people to learn and enable your skill set on Azure. So that's the vision of our organization. So we are trying to date. It's mean I can give you a tentative date. It's been starting on the 17th October. So you can mark it. 17th October is the date it's been given. So it's been 5 days program, and Sudagi has been given Facebook link also. So thank you team once again. For me, it was a very good batch. There was a good interaction, response was there. So I hope this hours has been added some value to you also for your learning. I hope you have enjoyed this program, and thank you team. Meet you soon. And thank you, Surag, for a lot of efforts was from your side also for coordinating and arranging, making this one. So thank you so much for this, for you also. So thank you, team. So happy weekend. Talk to you very soon. And with that note, Robin has been signing off from this event.